I want you to I want you to imagine biting into something incredibly sweet.
Okay.
Something like a perfectly glazed pastry or, a brightly colored piece of candy you loved as a kid.
Right, like pure sugar.
Exactly. Your brain registers that rush of sugar, that aesthetic perfection, but then right as you chew, you hit the center.
Ooh.
And the center is dark, it's bitter, it's dense, and it completely contradicts that beautiful sugary shell you just broke through.
Yeah, that jarring contrast.
Right. And your first instinct is to just like swallow it whole so you don't actually have to taste it. Welcome to today's deep dive.
Glad to be here.
We are taking a seemingly sweet, pastel-tinted indie pop song and, well, putting it squarely under the psychological microscope to see what is hiding in the center.
Yeah, and the song we're examining today is Blueberry Skies by Loser Company.
Such a great track.
It really is. And sonically, it just lures you in. It has this breezy, almost dreamy lo-fi quality to it.
Yeah, very relaxed.
Right. If you're just passively listening, you might think it's a song about, I don't know, a perfect summer afternoon. But the lyrical composition is doing something entirely different.
Completely different.
It's actively fighting the music.
And that dissonance, that's our entire mission today. We aren't here to do a standard music review or, talk about chord progression.
No, not at all.
We are using the lyrics of Blueberry Skies as a roadmap to understand a highly complex and honestly universally common psychological state.
Absolutely.
We're looking at how the human mind creates these soft, aestheticized illusions to mask emotional dissociation, to manage sensory overload, and hide from deeply intrusive memories.
We are essentially exploring the architecture of denial.
Oh, I like that phrasing.
Thanks.
Thanks.
I mean, the mind is a brilliant, desperate survival machine. When it encounters something too overwhelming to process, whether that's acute trauma or just chronic grinding stress, it doesn't just shut down.
Right.
It builds a false reality. It coats the unbearable experience in softness, in nostalgia, in artificial sweetness. But underneath that constructed sky, the body is still keeping the score. The nervous system is still churning.
So let's look at how the song builds that architecture right out of the gate. The opening lines give us the setup for this entire psychological state.
Yeah, they do.
It goes, darkness recedes into the morning strawberry eyes under blueberry skies.
The title itself is doing a lot of heavy lifting here.
Oh, for sure.
When we think of a sky, we think of our atmosphere, right? Our overarching environment, our reality.
Yeah.
But a blueberry sky isn't a natural phenomenon. It's highly processed. It implies a filter, an artificial sweetness, a curated mental atmosphere that you have actively decided to project over your reality.
It almost feels like the internal psychological version of internet culture's obsession with, like, aestheticized suffering.
Oh, that's an interesting point.
You see this all the time online, the whole sad girl aesthetic or romanticizing mental exhaustion by putting a pastel, highly saturated Instagram filter over a messy bedroom.
Right.
You aren't fixing the disaster. You are just curating it so it looks pretty.
Yeah.
Is that what we are dealing with here? A sort of toxic positivity turned inward?
That's a really strong parallel. Toxic positivity is fundamentally about cognitive dissonance.
Okay.
It's the refusal to tolerate negative emotions.
Yeah.
Forcing a positive spin on a situation that really doesn't warrant it.
Right, just slapping a smile on it.
Exactly. But internally, this operates as emotional dissociation. You are detaching from your immediate somatic experience, what your body is actually feeling, and retreating into this hyper-curated mental space.
Wow.
Notice the very first word of the song, though. Darkness.
Mm-hmm.
Darkness recedes into the morning.
Recedes.
Yes, it doesn't say that darkness is resolved or conquered or healed. It just recedes.
It just pulls back into the shadows,
Yeah.
like a tide.
Exactly. The threat is still in the room. The relief is entirely temporary. And the physical toll of living with that lingering threat is revealed in the very next line. Strawberry eyes.
Meaning red, raw, exhausted.
Yes, exactly. Strawberry eyes imply the physical aftermath of crying, profound sleep deprivation, or even an altered, intoxicated state.
So it's the physical truth.
Right. It represents the visceral, biological truth of what the person is experiencing. So you have this profound split,
The inner versus the outer.
Yes, the inner truth is strained and raw strawberry eyes, but the external presentation, the cognitive blanket they've thrown over themselves, is calm, pastel, and sweet. The blueberry skies.
But, I mean, keeping that cognitive blanket in place cannot be easy.
Oh, absolutely not. It's exhausting.
Like, if you're sitting in a burning room and aggressively telling yourself that it's a cool blue oasis,
Right.
the amount of mental energy required to just maintain that delusion must be completely staggering.
It is.
So that brings us to the machinery of denial. How does the mind actually keep that blueberry sky suspended?
It requires relentless, exhausting psychological labor. And the song maps this out as a suppression cycle in the refrain.
Oh, let's look at that.
Yeah, the lyrics move from a passive state to an active, almost violent mechanism. It says, pretending everything's fine, swallowing all that you can chew through blueberry skies.
Let's break that down a bit. Pretending everything's fine is step one.
Right.
That's the conscious denial you mentioned earlier. You are just choosing to look away. But the next step, swallowing all that you can, feels so much more physical to me.
Well, because suppression is a physical act.
Is it?
Definitely.
Right.
When we talk about swallowing our emotions, we are often talking about the globus sensation.
The what?
The globus sensation, that literal physical lump in your throat when you are trying not to cry.
Oh, wow, yeah. Everyone knows that feeling.
Right. Your sympathetic nervous system is flaring up, cortisol is flooding your bloodstream, and your body is literally screaming at you to release the tension.
But you're fighting it.
Yes. Your conscious mind is forcing it down. You are literally swallowing the darkness so it doesn't disrupt that artificial blue sky above you.
I struggle with the next part of that mechanism, though. The phrase, chew through blueberry skies.
How so?
Well, if you spend all this energy building this beautiful, sweet, protective sky to hide inside of, why are you trying to chew through it?
It seems contradictory, right?
Totally. Chewing sounds desperate. It sounds like a trapped animal trying to gnaw its way out of a cage.
The desperate nature of it is the entire point. It perfectly captures the paradox of dissociation.
Oh, interesting.
You build the illusion to protect yourself, but a false reality is ultimately a prison. The brain craves congruence, It wants your internal state to match your external reality.
Right. It wants things to make sense.
Exactly. When you enforce this massive cognitive dissonance, feeling raw panic while projecting pastel calmness, you start to suffocate.
So the chewing is them trying to escape.
Yes. Chew Through Blueberry Skies reveals that the person is actively trying to break out of their own coping mechanism. They are consuming the very walls they built.
It's like putting a heavy lid on a pot of boiling water because you just don't want to hear the sound of the bubbling.
Oh, that's a perfect analogy.
You aren't actually lowering the heat. You haven't turned the stove off. You are just trapping the steam, building up the pressure, and eventually that lid is going to violently blow off.
The pressure cooker is the perfect mechanical metaphor for this. Emotional suppression creates immense physiological pressure.
Right.
The nervous system cannot sustain an indefinite state of hyperarousal while the conscious mind just plays pretend. Eventually, the cognitive load becomes too heavy.
And walls crack.
Exactly. The pastel walls begin to crack. The illusion springs a leak.
And when it leaks, it doesn't just slowly drip, does it? It floods.
Oh, absolutely.
We see this sensory overload hit in the next section of the lyrics. The progression goes, sun in your eyes, stuck in the back of your head, down memory lane coat in the rain.
A really powerful sequence.
Yeah. So what does this kind of psychological leak actually feel like in a normal person's life? Say it's a Tuesday afternoon, you're at work, you've been pushing down stress for months. What happens?
Well, it rarely looks like a cinematic flashback.
Right, not like the movies.
No. It usually presents as a sudden, overwhelming sensory assault. The brain's threat detection center, the amygdala, starts firing completely out of context.
Well,
That's what sun in your eyes represents. The protective blueberry filter drops for just a millisecond, and suddenly the harsh light of reality is blinding and painful.
it's too much.
Yeah, you become hypersensitive to your environment, the lights in your office seem too bright, the sounds are too loud.
Because your nervous system is completely exposed.
Correct. And then the intrusive memories follow, stuck in the back of your head.
So they aren't voluntary memories.
No, not at all. These aren't memories you are intentionally recalling. They are lurking just outside your peripheral consciousness, hijacking your focus.
Right.
When trauma or chronic stress is suppressed rather than processed, the brain doesn't file it away neatly in the hippocampus as a past event. It keeps it active. It feels like it's happening right now.
Which completely recontextualizes the next line, down memory lane.
Oh, depth.
Usually that phrase implies a pleasant, nostalgic stroll. You're looking at old photographs, that sort of thing. But here, Memory lane sounds like a trap. You aren't strolling. You're being dragged down a psychological rumination loop.
Yeah, you're caught in the undertow of your own unresolved history, which leads us right to the final image of that verse. Coat in the rain.
Right. You put a coat on to protect yourself from the weather.
Naturally.
But if you are standing in a hurricane, wearing a cheap trench coat isn't going to save you.
No, it's not.
The sheer volume of the storm renders your little defense mechanism entirely useless.
Yeah.
You are still getting soaked to the bone.
That's spot on. The coat is your conscious effort to shield yourself. The pretending, the swallowing, the constructed sky.
Yeah.
The rain is the sheer, unmanageable volume of the emotional overwhelm. And when that overwhelming force breaches your defenses, the psyche has to make a radical shift to survive it.
Things get weird.
They do. The coping mechanisms warp. They stop making logical sense.
Which brings us to arguably the most jarring part of the song.
Yeah, the breakdown.
The literal narrative completely breaks down, and we enter this deeply surreal, almost hallucinatory space.
It's quite a shift.
The lyrics shift to, sun is out, I'm ripe, you're wet. I'm baked into a pie. Clouds salivate to sounds of thunder. I have to admit, when I first read I'm baked into a pie, it really threw me.
I can see why.
Baking a pie is usually this warm, folksy, comforting image. You know, it's grandma's kitchen.
Yeah.
But placed next to clouds salivating, it reads like psychological body horror.
It is absolute psychological body horror. Yes. This is what happens when the nervous system becomes so overwhelmed that it moves past simple dissociation and into depersonalization and derealization.
Okay, can you define depersonalization in this context? What is actually happening to the person's identity here?
Sure. Depersonalization is, well, it's the sensation of being detached from your own body or mental processes. You stop feeling like a person and start feeling like an object.
Wow.
Notice the language. I'm ripe. A person isn't ripe. Fruit is ripe. Produce is ripe.
That's true.
It implies extreme vulnerability. You are at the perfect stage of development to be consumed by something else.
You've completely lost your agency. You are just an ingredient.
Exactly. And baked into a pie is the ultimate culmination of that loss of boundaries. You are being broken down, mixed with other elements, subjected to extreme heat, and processed into something unrecognizable.
Terrifying.
You are no longer yourself. You have been absorbed.
And what's absorbing them? The very environment they built?
Yes.
Clouds salivate to sounds of thunder. The safe space grew teeth. The blueberry sky they painted to protect themselves has turned into a predator that is hungry for them.
It's a very dark turn.
That is a terrifying concept, that the cognitive architecture you built to keep you safe eventually begins to digest you.
It highlights the ultimate danger of emotional avoidance. When you refuse to process your reality, the unresolved emotions don't just vanish, they mutate.
They turn against you.
They take on a life of their own and eventually turn against the host, yeah. And this horror of being consumed traps the psyche in a loop.
Right, because the chorus repeats here.
Exactly. At this point in the song, the chorus just repeats, pretend, swallow, chew. There is no musical or lyrical evolution. It mirrors complete psychological stasis.
You are just kind of spinning your wheels in the mud.
Yay!
But right in the middle of that trap, right inside that endless repeating cycle of being consumed by your own coping mechanisms, the song delivers this single, stark line that shatters all the surrealism.
The most important line.
Sun won't live to see us die.
That line is the anchor of the entire piece. It is the clearest, sharpest moment of awareness we get.
How so?
Well, throughout the song, the sun has represented the blinding intrusion of reality, but also the illusion of the day, the overarching environment they are trapped in.
So to say the sun won't live means acknowledging that the environment itself is finite.
It is radical acceptance.
Wow.
They are finally piercing the cognitive dissonance. By stating that the sun will die before they do, the person is recognizing that their comforting illusion and the suffering it is causing them is temporary.
It's going to end.
Right. The blueberry sky cannot last forever. It is an artificial construct, and all artificial constructs eventually fail.
The irony is just brilliant, honestly.
It really is.
In a song overflowing with sweet, dreamy pastel imagery, blueberry skies, strawberry eyes, baking pies, the darkest lyric in the entire piece, the explicit acknowledgement of death and endings, is actually the healthiest moment.
It's the healthiest moment because it is the only time they are grounded in absolute reality.
No more illusions.
Exactly. They aren't pretending, they aren't swallowing, and they aren't dissociating into a pie. They are looking at their constructed world and saying, this isn't real and it will end.
So if we pull all these threads together,
Mm.
what is the ultimate takeaway here?
Well, I think
Because Blueberry Skies isn't just an indie pop song. It is a highly accurate map of the deeply uncomfortable experience of living inside a self-created emotional illusion.
absolutely.
It shows us how aesthetics and sweetness are weaponized to mask unresolved trauma.
And it illustrates the biological and psychological impossibility of that state. You cannot outsmart your own nervous system.
The body keeps the score.
Always. You can paint the sky blue, but your body will still keep the score of the darkness receding underneath it. The mind will repeatedly, desperately try to break through its own defenses, chewing through the sky, because the pressure of maintaining the illusion is ultimately more exhausting than facing the reality.
And that brings us directly back to you, listening right now.
Yeah, to the listener.
Because while we've been analyzing a very specific piece of music, the core behavior is universally human. We all have our own version of a blueberry sky, you know?
We definitely do.
Think about your own life. What is the pastel filter you throw over your stress? Is it doom scrolling aesthetically pleasing videos for 3 hours to avoid a difficult conversation?
Or curating a flawless online persona while your actual life feels like it's falling apart.
Exactly. Or maybe it's just telling everyone at work you are totally fine, just a little tired, while you swallow down massive amounts of anxiety.
The song acts as a mirror. It challenges you to look at your own coping mechanisms and ask, are these structures actually protecting me, or have they become the very thing I am suffocating inside of?
Are you resting under your sky, or are you secretly trying to chew your way through it?
Right.
That tension is left unresolved in the song's purposefully ambiguous ending, too.
Oh, the outro.
Yeah, the final repeating line fades out with the words, rise, rise, blueberry sky. It doesn't give us a clean conclusion. We're left with two entirely different possibilities.
We are. On one hand, it could represent the tragedy of the loop.
Okay.
The illusion is simply rebuilding itself. The wall is going back up. The person experienced the leak, suffered the sensory overload, had a brief moment of clarity, but the cognitive load was just too heavy,
So they gave up.
basically. So the sty rises again to trap them in the cycle.
The pressure lid goes back on the pot,
Exactly. But there's a second interpretation.
which is more hopeful.
I'd say so. Rise Blueberry Sky could mean that true awareness is finally rising up through the illusion. The person is ascending beyond the artificial sky, breaking the ceiling of their own denial.
It refuses to resolve. Much like the darkness at the very beginning of the song, it just leaves us suspended,
It does.
which gives us the perfect final thought for you to mull over today. Throughout this deep dive, we've talked about the horror of being trapped inside this artificial environment.
We have.
But if this entire journey is about a self-created illusion, perhaps the ultimate breakthrough isn't just escaping the blueberry sky.
What do you mean?
Well, maybe the real breakthrough, and honestly, the most terrifying part of the healing process, is the realization that you are the one who painted it.
Oh.
What happens to the human mind when it finally accepts that it is simultaneously the prisoner, the warden, and the architect of its own reality? You are the one holding the brush. You built the cage, which means ultimately you are the only one who could dismantle it. We'll leave you to chew on that.